Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty significant in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
And what's that?
Ordinances.
Ah, yes, getting into the nitty-gritty.
Right, we're going to be looking at a talk by Elder Taniela Wakolo. He's a member of the 70.
Okay.
And the title is, Saving Ordinances Will Bring Us Marvelous Light.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, this topic really gets to the heart of some pretty core beliefs and practices. What exactly are ordinances?
Well, the way I understand it, ordinances are kind of like formal sacred acts, and they're performed with priesthood authority.
Okay.
And Latter-day Saints view them as essential for exaltation.
All right, so essential for exaltation. So they're not just symbolic. These are really important. What are some of the key ones that Elder Wakolo talks about?
So he mentions a few.
Right.
We got baptism,
Uh-huh.
confirmation,
Okay.
Melchizedek Priesthood ordination.
Right, for men.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course, for men. And then we have the temple endowment and marriage sealing.
Okay, so those are some pretty significant ones.
Giggies.
He mentions these like a contract between us and God.
That's right. It's like this two-way promise. They call it a covenant. So it's like, you do this,
Okay.
and God will do this in return. You get these blessings for keeping the covenants.
That makes sense. But what happens if someone goes through these motions without truly understanding or committing to the covenant? Does it still work the same way?
Well, that's a good question. And I think that's where, this idea of honoring your covenants comes in. It's not just a one-time thing.
So it's an ongoing process.
Yes, you have to keep striving to live in alignment with those promises that you've made.
Okay, that's a really interesting concept. So, it's not just like checking a box.
Exactly.
There's real commitment and effort involved.
Exactly. It's a journey.
Now, Elder Wakolo actually shares a really touching story about a couple named John and Bonnie Newman. Can you tell us about them?
Oh, I love this story.
Okay, good.
So Bonnie, she was a member of the church,
Yeah.
but John wasn't. But he still attended church with Bonnie and their kids every Sunday for 39 years.
39 years.
39 years. He even played the piano for different congregations.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
But he never got baptized.
Nope. Not until, Bonnie sort of said, hey, I can't keep doing this alone.
Oh, wow.
Our kids need to see that you're, committed to this too.
Yeah.
So that's when he finally decided to take that step.
That's a big step.
Huge step, yeah. So he got baptized and really embraced the faith. And later on, he and Bonnie were sealed in the temple.
Okay.
And their son, Robert, actually noticed a really big change in John.
What kind of change?
He said he just blossomed. He became much gentler and more at peace.
That's a powerful testimony to the impact of, really making that commitment and following through.
Yeah.
Now, something that I was really curious about as we were talking about the power of these ordinances, where does Jesus Christ fit into all this?
Well, I think a lot of people might wonder that same thing.
Yeah.
And Elder Wakolo addresses that pretty directly. He says that, just good intentions and just outward actions, they're not enough. He actually quotes a former church leader, President Boyd K. Packer. He said, good works alone don't save us.
So we need something more.
Exactly. And that something is the atonement of Jesus Christ.
So is that what gives the ordinances their power?
Absolutely. It's like Christ's sacrifice kind of activates the power of the ordinances.
Okay, I see. So it's not the ritual itself.
No.
It's Christ's sacrifice.
That enables us to draw closer to God through those ordinances.
But what about the temptations and struggles that we face in life? Do ordinances protect us from those?
Well, Elder Wakolo brings up a really interesting point about that. He reminds us that even Christ, after his baptism, he was tempted in the wilderness.
Oh, right.
So, we're not immune to temptation just because we've participated in ordinances.
But what's the point then? What good are they if we're still going to struggle?
Well, it's not about being invincible, right? It's about having the strength and the guidance to navigate those challenges.
Okay.
Think of it like you're on a really difficult hike. It's dark, the terrain is rough, but you have a map.
Okay.
You have a headlamp.
Okay.
You have a good, sturdy walking stick.
Right.
You're still going to face those obstacles, but you've got the tools to help you through.
Right. So the ordinances give us those spiritual tools to deal with life's challenges.
Exactly.
Okay. But I noticed another theme running through Elder Wakolo's talk. It's almost like a warning. There's this sense of caution.
Yeah.
Like there's some potential pitfalls we need to watch out for.
Right. He's definitely saying, be careful.
What kind of dangers is he talking about?
Well, he starts by referencing a prophecy from Isaiah. It talks about the earth being defiled because people were changing ordinances. And then he connects that to a revelation received by the prophet Joseph Smith. Warning against, teaching man-made commandments as if they were doctrine and denying God's power.
So it's like, don't get caught up in the rituals themselves.
Right, exactly.
Make sure they're connected to God.
Yeah.
Not just, empty actions.
Right. You got to have that connection to the divine, the real meaning behind it.
Okay, now, he uses a pretty vivid image to illustrate the dangers we face. Tell me about that.
Oh, yeah. The ravening wolves.
Okay, so the distractions and temptations of life are like wolves trying to lead us astray.
Exactly. It's so easy to get distracted.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah, there's so much noise.
Yeah, so much going on. So how do we protect ourselves?
Well, he says we need to be shepherds.
Shepherds.
Yeah, aren't we shepherds of our own souls? He asks.
So we're responsible for our own spiritual well-being.
Exactly. We have to be proactive.
And he actually uses a really strong phrase. He says, casualness leads to casualties.
Oh, it's like, this stuff matters. It has eternal consequences.
Yeah.
You can't just be casual about it.
Don't just go through the motions.
Exactly.
You've got to be engaged.
And to be present.
Now, he highlights a specific ordinance that can help us stay on the path.
The sacrament.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
Okay, so the sacrament, it's a weekly ritual where members of the church take the sacrament, the bread and water, and it's symbolic of
Christ's body and blood.
Yes, exactly. It's a time for reflection.
For renewing those covenants
Right there. Yeah.
and recommitting to following Christ.
So why is it done so often? Why every week?
Well, he has a good analogy for that. He talks about being in a serious car accident.
Okay.
You're unconscious, and this stranger saves you by calling 911. How would you feel when you woke up? I would feel immensely grateful to that stranger.
Exactly.
For saving my life.
Right. And he connects that to Christ's sacrifice and suggests that the sacrament is a way for us to express that gratitude.
So it's a constant reminder.
It's a renewal. It's a recommitment.
Now, he shares another really interesting story about teaching a man about the sacrament with some missionaries. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So this man questioned why they had to do it every Sunday.
Okay.
Because his church only did it twice a year.
Right.
And the missionaries tried to explain, from the scriptures, but he just didn't get it.
Okay, so how did they finally help him understand?
Well, they asked him to imagine something. Imagine Jesus Christ walked in the door right now.
Okay, wow.
How would you react?
I would probably be speechless.
Right. This man immediately said he would drop to his knees. And then they pointed out that the reverence they feel when they enter the chapel is kind of a similar expression of that respect and awe for the Savior.
Right. Okay. So it's about approaching the sacrament with that same reverence you would have if Christ himself were present.
Exactly. It's about the inner posture of the heart.
Okay. That's a really powerful image. So did this man end up embracing the sacrament?
He did. He came to church on Easter Sunday.
Wow.
And kept coming back.
That's a great example of how powerful patient explanation can be.
It really is.
Now, I have a feeling we've only just scratched the surface of this topic.
Oh, yeah. There's so much more to dive into.
So much more to explore.
Definitely.
It's easy to just slip into that casual approach and then face the consequences later.
Yeah, and Elder Wakolo, he actually compares it to a ship.
Okay.
With all the right stuff, the best sails, great crew.
Yeah.
But the captain's not paying attention. They're just complacent, lose sight of the course, what happened.
They run aground.
Right. They run aground, exactly.
So we can have all the tools and participate, but if we're not really engaged.
You got to be engaged.
Yeah.
You got to be the captain of your own ship. Right.
Right. Okay. So Elder Wakolo says that these ordinances bring marvelous light and protection.
Yeah, that's a great promise.
How do they actually do that?
Okay, well, let's think about baptism for a second.
Okay.
It's kind of like a cleansing, a symbolic death, and then a rebirth into a new life committed to Christ.
Okay, so it sets you on a new path.
Exactly. Like you're stepping out of the shadows into the light.
So that's one way.
Yeah, it gives you that moral compass.
Okay, what about the other ordinances?
Okay, well, there's the temple endowment. This is a little more complicated. It's very personal and sacred.
Okay.
But basically, you're making these really serious covenants with God.
Okay.
and you receive instruction about his plan
Okay.
for his children.
So it's like a deeper understanding of God's plan.
Exactly. It gives you that strength and resilience.
Okay, so the roadmap for life.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then there's marriage sealing.
Ah, yes, that eternal bond.
Yeah, it unites a couple for eternity.
Yeah, it creates this incredibly strong unit.
It's like a foundation,
Yeah, grounded in faith and values.
which can be so protective in today's world.
Oh, absolutely, especially with all the things that can pull families apart.
You know, it makes me think about that ripple effect again.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just individual benefits.
Well, it's so much bigger.
It's like if each person is striving to be that light,
Yes,
it impacts their community,
exactly.
the world around them.
Right, and that's a key part of Latter-day Saint teachings, you know? As individuals get closer to God, they become that force for good.
It's not just about personal salvation.
It's about contributing to something bigger.
So it's like, be the light you want to see in the world.
Exactly, and you have to be active about it.
Mm.
Elder Wakolo is very clear about that.
It's not passive.
No, you have to work at it.
You have to engage.
Yeah.
He tells a story about,
Oh, yeah, the one with the missionaries.
yeah, tell me about that.
So they were teaching this man about the sacrament,
Okay.
and he was confused.
Hmm?
He didn't understand why they had to take the bread and water every week.
Okay.
His church only did it twice a year.
Right, right.
And the missionaries, they tried explaining it from the scriptures,
Okay.
but he just couldn't grasp it.
So how did they finally get through to him?
Well, they asked him to picture this
Okay.
Jesus walking through the door right now.
Wow, what a powerful image.
Right. And the man said he would drop to his knees out of reverence, right?
Yeah.
And they explained that the way they feel when they enter the chapel,
Okay.
that reverence, that's how they approach the sacrament.
So it's not about the outward form, it's about the inner feeling.
Exactly, that respect and awe for the Savior.
So did this man end up changing his mind
He did.
about the sacrament?
Yeah, he came to church on Easter and kept coming back.
That's so powerful.
It really is the power of dialogue and understanding,
Okay.
just patiently explaining it.
Okay, so we're talking about becoming this force for good, living out these principles.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like for Latter-day Saints?
Well, a big one is service.
Okay.
It's really central to their beliefs.
Okay.
You'll see it in so many ways, you know? Volunteering in the community, humanitarian efforts.
Okay.
They're encouraged to use their time and talents to help others.
It's putting their faith into action.
Exactly.
It's not just about words.
No, it's about deeds.
It's about showing love and compassion.
And it's not just for members of their faith either. They believe in helping everyone in need.
Okay, so they're really trying to make a difference.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting, this idea of service being an expression of faith, it's pretty universal.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a Latter-day Saint,
Yeah.
but I completely resonate with that.
It gives you purpose,
Yeah.
a sense of connection.
And it goes beyond any specific religion.
I think so too.
It's a human thing.
Exactly.
That desire to help.
To connect, to make a difference.
You know, that's what I love about this discussion.
What's that?
We're looking at these specific beliefs,
Yeah.
but the core of it,
It's about those human values.
love, compassion, service.
Making the world a better place.
And that's what Elder Wakolo is calling us to do,
To be beacons of light
to let our actions reflect those values.
and create that ripple effect.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's go back to that question Elder Wakolo asks at the end of his talk.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
What steps can I take to more fully understand and appreciate the significance of the ordinances I participate in?
It's a challenge to really dig deeper.
To move beyond just going through the motions
Yeah.
and think about what these rituals really mean.
To be present and intentional.
Yeah, that's something we can all strive for.
Absolutely, no matter our beliefs.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on to some specific examples.
Oh, yeah. Let's see how these ordinances play out in real life.
How they impact individuals and communities.
I'm excited to explore that.
This idea that ordinances are like a catalyst for positive change, I mean, that's pretty powerful.
It really is. And it's not just, internal. It extends outward, to the community, to the world.
So it's like this ripple effect.
Exactly. It's like you become a channel for those blessings to flow to others.
You're not just receiving.
Right. You're sharing.
You're giving back. Okay, but how do Latter-day Saints actually live this out?
Well, one big way is through service.
Yeah.
You know, it's really ingrained in their culture. You see it everywhere, volunteering, humanitarian work.
So they're putting their faith into action.
Exactly. It's not just about, going to church on Sunday.
It's about living those principles,
Yeah.
making a difference.
And it's not just for, other Latter-day Saints. They believe in helping everyone.
Okay, so it's about reaching out to anyone in need. It's interesting. As we've been talking, I've been thinking about my own, spiritual practices. I might not have the same rituals.
Yeah.
But I really connect with this idea of service.
Yeah.
It's something that, gives me a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Like I'm making a difference.
And I think that transcends any specific religion,
It's a human thing, that desire to help others.
Absolutely. It's about connecting, making the world a better place.
And that's really what I love about this whole discussion.
What's that?
We're talking about specific beliefs. But ultimately, it comes down to these core human values. Love, compassion, service.
Exactly. And that's what Elder Wakolo is, urging us to do. Be those beacons of light.
Let our actions speak, make a difference.
Right. And, at the end of his talk, he leaves us with that question. What steps can I take to more fully understand and appreciate the significance of the ordinances I participate in?
It's a powerful invitation to really, dive in.
And to go deeper, to be more mindful.
Not just go through the motions.
Exactly. And I think that's something we can all benefit from.
Regardless of our, beliefs.
Absolutely. It's about finding those things that give our lives meaning.
And living them out.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive. This has been a fascinating conversation.
It really has. It's always so interesting to explore these different perspectives.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We hope this has sparked some new ideas and maybe even inspired you to find ways to be a force for good in your own lives.
And as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts, share your reflections, anything that resonated with you.
And until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, keep shining your light.